남통 털바 되야 치 피스 남통 털소나 저 되야 치 피스 어제네 리파 쟁와 쟁와 나그 피스 리파 쟁와 발생야 나그 피스 쟁이 손은 제야 제 냠나 다른 게 많이 세턴도 되제 휴인 바 탐란다 제 남통 초시다나 인삼나 되리가 보면 리파 남통 쟁이잖아 쟁이 손나 민삼 되리가 보면情况呢，되네 초고 시에나 대학교 들나 보고 면하고 들을 정도 대시에 다르바情况
어디 담아갈래?
情况초고 시에나 대학교 들나 보고 면하고 정도
네. 디차드? 디차드 송송.
다른 게 말하면 봐.
디차드 양계시 셴바시 송송 디멤바.
카라송 다다 남토 다다디 미즈 리바 쟁인 뭐 같은도나 민삼 되게 보고 면와 초고 시에나 대학교 들나 보고 면
네.
제가 멤버들 라송에
ماشي إنها بكون إيش لابسه خمسة.
다들 자리 남동 털바도 같이 피스 담라레베 남동 털로 있잖아 치키 피 제가 스리과 쟁완생만 나와 피 스리과 쟁도 나와 피트레스 내로 돈 라샤반 내로 가는 조바 돈 피스 내로 피스 샘 내로 가는 돈다 피스 피스 좀 단대면 내저리 정도 다들 所以我在这大这块在那讨论中，那提纲什么在当配的，加在其他说第三这个年头的，我是说呢，甚至用个的，他这当配基本我是的，说对特别个嘞好过的，因为他个是说跟那讨论出来，我现在提做下那配基呢，我在这趟。这情况我拿这情况去办这样的，情况在第一配置，那这些情况我在别讲了，这个你这苦了个配置，那这是你把写图表的这是配给着，我这里当年了就同那就把同的配置，这三年了那就把这同他们配置，但我其实这个你们去年他说他的年了可能你们去呢，我但今天总共去，我南头什么这写个没种的，别讲了，可惜那他在我们用这两这有了他的。다 탐볼 산데데 좀 남포제 티가만 나한테 산데데 랑이 마로 파파 고미하제 요로 와 전류 지금 좀学习있어요 이게 반년 이름이 이렇게 나오는 냐면 제가 스판지한테 년 보이야미 봐 어때요 내로 좀 옆이 와 전류 자주 살아 봐
Okay, so coming back to the pet, regarding the pet, Miller-Reber had said that the outer pet shatters one's thoughts, so that they kind of destroy the thoughts. The inner pet clears away delusions or agitation and mental dullness. And then the ultimate or secret path is to see the natural state, see the view, to see the true nature of the mind. And so we mentioned before a few methods for when the mind is agitated. You can visualize a black light sphere below your cushion, or when the mind is a bit dull, then you can visualize a white light sphere between your eyebrows. And you can also use the pad that I mentioned before. So maybe your mind will have no thoughts when you say the pet, but it's also not so certain that you're able to just completely tame your mind just by saying pet. So the way that would work with the pet is that you would first recognize your thought, you would have an awareness, and then say the pet. And so with the awareness, saying the pet, then it would shatter the thought. But just saying the pet without much clarity might not do it. However, for example, if you feel really dull or like sleepy and you see a really loud pet, then that will probably wake you up. So that's in that sense, it might be really beneficial. But so the ultimate pet is to see the nature of the mind. Also, Chichen Sumgen said, that is why I have no fear of gods or demons, because I know they do not inherently exist. They are inseparable from the mind. So he had realized that which he tries to avoid or abandon and its antidote are actually inseparable within the natural state.
남토 숨세이러와 등인도 힘이 있어와
Some
좀라 좀 자할 배차 담보 란데라제 란데라제 다남토라 세라나 란데레 삼제치 텔데네 한테 냠나치 야제 노몬다테 딩오시아로 남토 좀로 테파 안소 냠나가 중요한테 남토 좀 팀이 힘이 있어 반 일미 나는 냠나치 효스
This instruction in Machigden Sumgun is called the instruction of the three thoughts, and there is the three is the one is, first of all, you might have the first thought is that you may see like a demon, a spirit, or some god, and then the next one is that you practice, and then you look. There's a second, and then a third. You look at the nature of it, the nature of that thought of that demon, and you see that they're all actually one.
드네 당아랑소 다다들이 다 신내들이 스고미 바다 다롱에서디 사사레 신내 소미와 상지 그 담보데 도데 신고미 안다모지 니바데 다다 아디 다다디 테로와 니바데 가서 테로와 상제 국금이야 들어와 선바데 소소류이 담금 나치마 어디 좀보 다지동양조디 상양차금 야고스 어드네 저동당가랑 소금 접디 전호님비 제시 총지네 냠바르접에 탐게 된저지 다다디 다보저신 남자 몰람치모나 저종으로 전호님비 제시 총시네스 전호님보 나는 거래스 전호님바 가 잼치샤 나 남도 쇼된 초를 빼가래요래 너 안후치나 아니 너한테 더 가용도 야 대양 남포 신바제 초로야티 로송나티 준비 마지 와지 와 텐트 충효래 대도 점로 년바 년배 제시 조심 봐 버려 점로 년배 냠바르 조배 탐게 된 조지 냠자치야라 탐게고 데모 텐트 치고레스 다 탐게고 그러선 다리 투총 장마스 유ring부 在검지 때문에 어서 키워 在잠나 검자야 순거래这孙松这个讲东西啦，没得想着的也会有嘛嘞。真的是工作呢，他们讲那工作出来要了，这样的是个来看的，没说讲些讲事情。这里面这个，我做学者讲下去，这个工讲是个来学者，这个工其他讲到没讲也会有嘛嘞，这样的。做这汤姆这他们给我拿这宁波西那也会嘞。马这老中这送有了。Jam shin jam la lo je yu tel da ve ni je yu jam shin jam la lo je yu tel da ve ni je yu zo na jam de na lo je yu tel da ve ni je yu re zong de wa wa de ten du de zai cha de yu de de ga ran so wa de chen mo nyum bo sna da gom ja go teng ga ngen chi ji tang gom shi da ja nyong mi na ji tang gom je de na bo ma ten de shu lan de re ma ten de shu lan de ji tang fen ma ten de shu ma re lam de wa 다 배전이 나 요요제 이제 배제 요를 좀 놓대 가르서는 남도 마음으로 해야 한다고 제 가르서는 인도가서 지금 남도 하고는 과교 말해 하고 그 말이야 남도 가진 거 오시면 다다 소리들이 지사 과교래 하고도 뒤 공내에 다를 남도 되고 응원들이 시에들 어때니 남도 뒤 마음으로 쇼래 안도리 어때니 되네 그 공대시 야토들 다레스 어때는 심플히 그만 삼삼 들이 용도 ngima goma jab nam to ndiga smi ta de gom jab nam po ma tro ta kale khapa shuri ndo zane o ten ri mi ro o te this nega shira yo ma le su gom ja tup shole this star is yin je me a te nam to ji si ter ma za mi so dong sam ni sam no je yo ra te chi ma re ta te nam to this nam to sama mi ba so go so tup ma re chun so tup ma re 我这样的，做我他娘俩可能前些前年南跑的往的去了嘛什么的，他娘俩去过学的，我真的没来这边看的，我也长松车的，土车这块找我这些，你们这城里我们都是，我这也长松车人不介意了吧？这是我那土车这块这啊，他土还有啥子，也给这样的，然后他长松车人不介意这些，长松车人的。 tortieri qua giavonzis, tortieri qua giavonzis, ta nam po re je sim de dra na yin zikres ta ne, ya lo mo do zan de. O de tortieri qua giavonzis, nyam ju chemi gom zu, de nyam ju chemba me ba te gom do res, te gom yang ta ba ma res. So wo de nga zo gom ja ong de shine na kare na ze, chemba me ba gom ma che xie tang den ba, se cha tang den ba. O te go hyo me ze ko chemba me le na tom tom ra xiao, gom si chang ma xia hyo ma re. 我这样的即是南多什么没，在这长松的南多什么站这个吧，我听着站这个也讲没到，南多我写完去，南多我写呢，这个南多这个网他妈学吧，我这别从起过学了，这当南多现在做的那让说这南多做工，但这当这你妈的有的用个了，南多的，你们两个讲的，我南多做是一出不得没有，这当我做学进步了是有的，让一出不得是有嘛了，我这样的听着这是的。 在南头吹空那听也就恰当么说话，他妈说呢，这是南头吹那，这我些行啊，这全把口气些说呢，这我们家头的呀，这样这个哇。
And so we have practiced some shamatha, and we have mentioned three different ways of practicing shamatha before. So the first one was we used an ordinary object such as a pebble or like a little twig of wood and stick. The second one was to visualize or focus on a Buddha form. And the third one was to visualize yourself, your body as the Yidam deity. And in the moon beam Mahamudra by Tabodashi Namgyal, he also gives instructions. Oh, it's in the great the great prayers collection. Tabodashi Namgyal, right? Yeah, and so he said in there in an instruction of practicing Mahamudra that the mind should not be too tense, too focused, and it also should not be too relaxed. He said that if you try too hard to focus, you will only tire yourself. You will wear yourself out. But then if you are too relaxed, then no meditation will happen. You have to be skillful in finding a good measure between too tight and too loose. So you need a bit of each. So you need both in moderation. And so what is the skill? How are we skillful in accomplishing that? It's by having more frequent but shorter sessions. And so it's because if you first try too hard and you push yourself too hard to meditate, then eventually it will become frustrating and it will be too much and you feel overwhelmed and you no longer want to meditate. But if you keep practicing over and over again, and when it gets too difficult, you take a little break, then you will be more able to continue your meditation. And then Machik Labdron had said, if there's too much effort, then there will be tension. But if there's too much relaxation, there is dullness. You must balance those carefully in your meditation. There has to be a balance between tension and relaxation. And so the balance is found by having shorter but more frequent sessions. And so sometimes it seems to us that when we are meditating, how we become frustrated is that it seems that now that I'm meditating, I'm having all of a sudden all these thoughts that I didn't have before. But that's actually not true. You actually had those thoughts before too, but you didn't actually see them as clearly as you do now. And now you're becoming aware of what is arising in your mind, what's in your mind. And now, because now you're looking at your mind. And when you directly see that, it seems that there is more thoughts than before. And often people say that before I meditated, I'm quite happy, but now since I'm meditating, I have all these strange thoughts all the time. And it's actually just that you had those thoughts before, but you didn't recognize them. And anyways, if that is your experience, you shouldn't worry about it because it's actually a sign that you are practicing. It's not something to worry about. So it's not a big deal. And also the other thing is that often people have an expectation that when they meditate, they will get rid of all of their thoughts. They want to be free of all their thoughts. But this is actually not going to happen. There's no way you will get free of all your thoughts. There will always be thoughts. The point is not to be controlled by these thoughts, not to get carried away by those thoughts. Then there's this quote by Milarepa who said that like a rishi sees all thoughts as enemies, and then without attachment enters a state of non-thought. And so that's also not the right approach. Milarepa says this is actually not the correct meditation because it is a state of indifference that the rishi is really dwelling in, and it's not the authentic meditation. So we shouldn't view the thought as enemies and try to avoid them, try to cut them out at all. But what we need to recognize is their nature. We have to look at those and we might find some clarity within these thoughts. So what we need to establish is a stability of awareness. The point is not to get rid of thoughts at all. The point is to see the nature of those thoughts and to not become controlled by them. And so when you see the thoughts, what you see is that there actually are no thoughts. So actually, they don't actually inherently exist. There is no real existing thoughts. So therefore, when thoughts arise, let them arise, but do not become controlled by them. So if you sustain mindfulness, you will not give way to these emotions of attachment, hatred, or ignorance. And if you practice in this way, your mindfulness will become powerful and your meditation will improve.
근데 지수 말하려서 그 전나 검토 메시나 메토 검바 남토이스. 전나 검토 시고 저 나라서 전나는 정말 검이 마시 소나 제 남토제나 제냠량지 저자 제 나와 제 남토제는 벌써 나와 제 잠만 통 로티 정말 제 냠량 강자 톰나 전나 검토 시고 전나 검토 마시나 메토 검바 남토이스 메토 동반이 세제 검디 동반이 제 남토로 봐. 가장呀，这个，我曾经咱们开始在东半年我们都说的话，东半年我们的呢，在东半年几个我们这个嘛嘞，东半年我们先呢，我本这边提话，我本这边的咱们这边我们都可以是，我们这边的他偏见我们特别搞得好不好的老说吧，对呢，这是啥啊？这种我本这边求他了，我们这边特别绿是老说吧，特绿。我本这边的，我本他有本这边就有了，我这我本这边的秋农的秋土农，我们这边的这里农个是，我这可以让东半年广东，是把东半东江这老说的，这东半年的在广东的话，我这里经常这个嘛的，我这咱们那里边这种经常广东嘛些些，我在那里做的这里，这差不多么些这种的话，这样下样这样们这吧。làm cho anh này cũng thấy phải sao mấy sự ta 接那下那这样没事吧？咱就你空的多少米种多，我这是绿系统那种样呢，的说叫做什么光图晓得，我这开什么多啊？
Sarah hat die Lung die ina yomara.
啊，
Sarah ha lung die ina yomara.
你们都不听呢？我这个是啦，想是啦，
Oh, okay.
哦要嘛，有把可是我帮自己把球堂的，我明知道特别流，我帮自己把球的嘛嘞，球通路有了，通路球了，把球的了不啦？
I told them, oh, okay.
我明知道特别流的是，
And Miller Ripper had said that um, you must know how to meditate with anything that arises at all. And so we see all sorts of things, all sorts of appearances, all kinds of things manifest to us. Whatever it is that manifests, it has to become practice. It has to become meditation. So whatever arises becomes your meditation. Then Milarepa said that when you try to just achieve the state of no thought, you just want to dwell in emptiness without any thought, you're not actually meditating. You're going in a state of denial. So there are some people who they often say, I want to practice emptiness, I want to meditate on emptiness. But if that's all that there is, that's actually not a good way to approach meditation, because so what we need to destroy is self-grasping, the grasping at a concrete true existence, and a grasping at a non-existence is unable to destroy the grasping at an existence. So Saraha had said that the grasping at a true existence is quite foolish, but it's even more stupid, just like a cow, if you grasp at a non-existence of things. So that's even worse than grasping at things to truly exist. And then Gampopa also said that the supreme path is the path where you do not grasp at anything at all that arises. There's no discursiveness, no chain of thoughts regarding anything at all that arises. That is the best practice. And so this is really the essence of the Mahamudra practice.
我这啦不玩呢。kan ma ka ke sta nga to kom ja in sta tari kari kom ja kom la ba tari nge machine se kom na ri
So now we're going to meditate for a few minutes about the on any of those shamatha practices that we mentioned before.
tene ta nga rang tso ta xene ten chen chi ta ten mi te la ni yo re silam do ta xene ten mi te la che tang chung ko da tang ar tang ra si ta je tang te yo re xene ten mi la ni de tang bo zhen ba si ta je tang te zhen ba si jin do ta chung ko da tang ar tang ra si xie ba jung zi zhen na zi te so la nam ka la de ne ge je ma yin ba xiam zhe je nyam ba de xia mi guan ce je gong ju mi si 我的原是伊斯兰多，我听的他这当前呢，但你现在的店面去了，真把汤路把生意多，做我的生意是什么东西？什么呢？真把去了，做我的青蛙汤，木瓜的小青包，那真把它做过去，臭把的锅把的小青包用呢，路把它做过去，我这他进一步承诺的，你把这六七个就是这什么的路。 我的呢，当地人在中国大堂啊，堂这些把东西这样呢，那些特殊人能搞了的，给些蛮人吧，其实我的营养嘛，我的没关系嘛，我们就没意思，就讲没意思，我这里他这，我的呢，我的没关系嘛，我们就嘛的，但营养没意思的，今天中国人的。 nga zo zhe yuwa kar se te tu som sanje hyungnam tu junchi mi be chenba yins tu zam sanje tsamchi hyungnam dong lam ga te tu junchi mi be chenba yins chenba yin mi ma xie nas lunga dap ta kana mi sta chenba yin wa mi ba ma xie na lunga ke dap ta te ze la lu ke chang ze ya bor jong chi ya da nga se no ya ka dong ge jo chi ya zo chenba yin di na ti ga sa se ne pa no pe to ti ga su yo ma le 我的研究成把因为嘛，些农家都看他们一种了，我的研究给的没是伊拉没就悄悄情报意思，我根据对咱们吧，没讲的，我们通常前面我们确实，我他在我们就做是研究给的嘛，是蛮应把他在光嘞，我蛮应把的我们平常去打下过来的研究生的有嘛吧，我的呢，因为什么天天多嘛，就是我的因为什么天天多是不嘛的是。 我这一来没就悄悄情报是，一来没就悄悄情报是，但一真把有的学生这块嘛，真把这有那边但是南到在初中那完了说，下来安中咱们的自从这块嘛的是，我真的人民那的， 英米是，我做你对这米那的英米，朝鲜人比较普通做些，我这你对，还是那这种对这个。Dharma za lam do, Dharma za ti, zimi ngang de ying mi, 朝鲜人比较普通错是种是吧？我这里同国民呢ying mi, 国民对象mi，我在国民对象是老起呢在国民嘛的是，他那个应该在那个东尼国或者东北尼罗子头个话，他经常那个嘛的，我这在国民做些 mix 有嘛的，他做我这蛮英话现在先，那路是讲过去的是。我估计对咱们没公平，是我估计是我们咱们的没公平。我没同他前面光没去，是我没同他的，他那前人多久嘛？是没这吧？这个是前吧？这嘛这吧？前些是嘛这吧？结果的是前些是前送那的呢，我们家头个嘛的送的。
And so the next then is the calm abiding without a focal object, and there's two kinds. Focusing and loosening. And so to answer the way I see the difference is that it depends the state of your mind. So if you're more unclear and dull, sleepy, then you need more focusing. And if you're more restless, have many thoughts, then you need more loosening. And so in the text it says, so first there is the calm abiding without a focal object, focusing, maintaining the body posture and gaze as before. Look into space at the level of the tip of your nose with your mind slightly focused and one-pointedly set without even a moment of distraction. While there is nothing at all to meditate with a focal object or sign, do not allow even a moment of distraction. So Jiten Sumgan said that the path of all the Buddhas, the 3 times, is an ongoing state of mindfulness. And if you just know that, that is sufficient. If you do not know the point of non-distraction, then various virtuous activities even are not so beneficial. For example, we may put our bodies through all kinds of hardships, like we are prostrating, we are reciting many mantras, this and that. But if the mind is totally distracted, then all of that is not so fruitful. So it is said that Mahamudra is to not engage the mind in anything, to not fixate the mind on anything whatsoever, to not meditate upon anything, to simply sustain a state of non-distraction. That is meditation. So when all kinds of thoughts arise because of the various things we perceive with our 6 sense doors, and then we are pretending to do a meditation, we're not really actually meditating. So that's not how we should do it. The master, first a quote, it says here, so it is said, in inconceivable Mahamudra, do not meditate, as there is nothing to meditate upon, even as tiny as an atom. Not parting from the meaning of non-meditation is the supreme meditation. And then the Master Dhamma, Bhikkhu Master Dhammaraja, had said that when you sustain an ongoing state, an undistracted state of non-grasping, that is the perfect practice of Mahamudra. So there is nothing to meditate upon. What needs to be done is to sustain an ongoing state of non-distraction, of clear mindfulness. As the moment you separate from mindfulness, no matter what else you do, you're not actually meditating.
对送哎，我真的在那里嘛，多的推穷起来，伊拉公司推完了叫他们他们去哪里全部都来其实我在推完了叫他们，上上在我们家的对这我是那方的，推完了叫他们他说的。好，小钱不在这送的这个我们的也这的说，也个来考有的种多啊。 我在没拉这边说，我说好的，经验从家嘛的，这种从家穷为的，现场浪多都来其实，我在这边在，这种从家浪的，这种从家穷为的，哪怕出多都来其实，哪怕出的，这从家的穷呢，这哪怕出个来是，那边那趟这就是，老家浪多都来其实。主要他娘们他装对手，长到浪多都来其实，我当时说他妈呈现成结果的种多么那这边。
Die Lungen so alle das Jogger de.
Ja.
Die anche sono Lungen.
经验从家穷为对，哪怕出多都来其实，哪怕出多个的是。
Am cioè.
哪怕出从的想出多个吧。我的呢，哪怕出多都来其实。这那边那趟吃的说，多家浪多都来其实。但就那这通，那多家浪下他就用这个意思。我在朝他娘的浪对了，长多浪多都来其实，朝过去，那娘们朝对，长多浪给他朝过去。我这时候在这些去过的，都来去过的，说他那一点可以呢，他他妈的，推人他们叫他们听说了都来去了，是那么多，去的了是那么多。
And so it says then meditate in short sessions and then carry on all activities between sessions with constant mindfulness as before. And so, as we mentioned before, sometimes it seems that when we are meditating, it's going quite well. But then when we go out and about our activities, often we encounter real difficulties because we have, there are some really powerful experiences that we have that trigger very strong emotions, and then we can't do anything about it. And so Milarepa said that when you hear harsh words, unkind words, it disturbs your ear. Or in other words, if your ear is disturbed, then your mind will be disturbed, but basically your mind will be disturbed by the harsh words. And when you encounter pleasing sense objects, desire will arise. And when you accompany your friends, sometimes jealousy arises. When we are with other people, we often get jealous. During all these times, when you go out and about, sustain mindfulness. Always uphold an ongoing state of mindfulness.
现在咱那里嘛，在这里给他们拉远，在那些那里多，来他们那么忙着出啊，现在话我们这是在那么在那么忙出去了，这是这先经济那边大意思，这先经济那边大意思，那边没被控制那么多经济的，我们今年检验出去了意思那么多。
And then it says, in doing so, for beginners, thoughts will seem to proliferate extensively. So as you mentioned before, in the beginning, it seems that there's even more thoughts. This indicates a small degree of mental stability. Before you have mental stability, all thoughts that arise remain scattered and unrecognized. Nonetheless, if myriad thoughts proliferate, make sure to recognize whatever fluttering thought arises.
等那我们现在检验去了，即将那说说呢，多把看就把的我先把起拉是，真的三万元嘛，那么进去你就我送了检验他妈晓得吧？就是我送的，就是我说行，在他的光边多把你甚至这样他妈送嘛，点米头，多米天呢在那边小我是，他在那票啥的，他那么这次的我先过来是。这我先从那的南坡河，在前的南坡在桥其他去头嘛，南坡，参加的南坡休期不那来了我，就头嘛那天那，他在年来讲的刚差不多下做这些点，之前那的是南坡是往头没晓偏给的是，即将南坡那算出的那但我先过来是我先把些3万元话是的。他们说进去我送检验他妈晓得，他们说进去我送现在，他们说就自己下课过来拉票的嘛，常看自己拉票嘛，感觉他这就说你就他们接着在用个的，咱们这一块钱这那么多说的多哈，他接了在用个的，咱们这里好像那么多说的多哈。 真的经济可嘛嘞，咱这我心是经济你想的这你这里在长夏这个学年的咱们那穷到个样，长夏这样嘛的是吧？这我心过的也是拉说的，那么多这事情。等下可以给大家打那套在这从啥地界在这用这上，听着我们讲那个的用多，听的这现在这别个了的，咋？可是呢，我那不军气个嘛，我晓得在一打呢，这年龄轻的人，我起码说年龄中期的，我让我说，等着我中部人，那咱那不起码这来我们那种就是咱那种中部年龄轻的，没得。真的，咱古曼的是，那古曼年龄轻的人，那多古曼穷的，古曼工资大马通这人没来的吧？那多古曼没得，古曼工资大马的没得啥。这个人家他们晓得吧？这是就是我送，你嘛这么来的别去，吃好能钱，古曼在吃好能充满女的是吧？我女学啥了？他在国家做这些上啥了课？这你看的没是低的，他在没当学的都没低的，还课啥了课？天前他听到我小做这些上课肯定是大的了，他在学啥了？没来的把我们家对的啥了？晓得没来的个呀？他是。原年看看呀，你什么都是就在那年在街上看到那种，在那里过给么给那些，听着我他过年都要嘛，他那么多可能是吧？就是我从那是让中西艺术形式，我在中西艺术过的是，我艺术的像搿里看到的艺术的是呀，睇到了东北广别是。东莞你什么几点头？那么多的什么子呀？点头嘛送去过的，像什么的了那在那么多的，那么多东米那那边的是在那东米啊那特别那穷呢，我听着去过的算多。
So then it says here, where are we? Okay, so with an undistracted mind, recognize each thought that arises, one thought after the other, and never allow your mind to scatter. And take a short rest and resume. So what this instruction says is that whatever thought arises, recognize each and every thought as it arises. And if you see each thought very clearly, they will not have so much power to affect you in any way. Of course, sometimes it's a very powerful feeling that we have, and there's not much we can do about it. But maybe sometimes if we recognize the thought, we take away some of its power. Definitely when you see the thought with mindfulness, it will only help. So the instruction here is to recognize your thoughts, and do not be distracted. And so now, having said that, recognize each thought one after the other. That does not mean that you have to count the thoughts that arise. For example, thinking that, oh, here is that thought, oh, there it is, I'm sure another one will come. And then the next one comes and you feel like, oh, the other one, there's something else is sure going to come into my mind. So you're already expecting the next thought, you're anticipating the next thought, and so you kind of keep count of all these thoughts. So this is not what is meant here, because this is again just another chain of thoughts actually, and you're not actually looking at the nature, you're actually creating another chain of thoughts. And so that sometimes actually happens, and people try to look at their thoughts that actually they are anticipating, almost like waiting for the next thought to come, just like you're kind of welcoming a guest to your home, you're waiting for them to come. And so by doing that, you're almost inviting them to come to your mind, and you will have more thoughts basically. And so this is not what we should do. For example, once Milarepa, he also said that there's a song, and then there's a story behind it. So the song is that he said that when the thief of thought arises, recognize it, but don't invite it in like a guest. And so one time Milarepa was meditating in a cave. It was night, and then a thief came, a robber came, and the robber was the thief was going through his things to try to steal something. And he was looking around, but he couldn't really see anything. And so he thought there must be something because somebody lives here. I see like the smoke during the daytime. Somebody's making a fire. Somebody's here. There's got to be something. So he was looking around, looking for something to take. And then Milarepa was meditating, and then he said, I can't even find anything in here in the daylight when it's bright and light outside. If you can find something in here in the middle of the night, please show that to me. So then the thief, he left laughing. So just like that, we don't want to invite the thoughts in. But then when the thought arises, also there is nothing, the thought is like the thief, and there's nothing for the thought to find in our mind. So the thought then just goes away laughing, basically, because there's nothing there to take. And so that's kind of the nature of the thought too. There's nothing actually really there. And so then take a short rest and resume. When you meditate again this way, the non-conceptual mind abides in pristine clarity as the thoughts by themselves cease to serve as the grasping object of mind. So you meditate in this way, and again, as before, when you're no longer to sustain awareness, when it becomes difficult, then you take a break, take a short break again, then resume meditation. And so, and abide within. So when you meditate again in this way, then continue to abide the non-conceptual mind that doesn't grasp at anything.
then the Jimala Revitation, Carzon, Namto Guma, Mala goes, Namto Guma, Bay Mambo Yuris, Tela Gopo Yuris, Namto Guma, Mala goes. Something Northern Chuleches, something can tell something at the Northern Morris, that the Gushon Yanga Yuris. Yingmi Mercy, Yingmi Mercy, Chirians, Yingmi Mercy, and Yingmi Maying Bachin, that's so much goes, Mercedes is Sungarwa, or Yingmi Mercy, Chiri, Sondwata, and that's an angry.
Milarepa said, the thoughts are like thieves, and there are many of them, and they are wild thieves. And concentration, meditative concentration is like a jewel. There is a danger that jewel will be stolen. The protector that guards, the watch guard that guards your jewel of meditation is non-distraction.
Then the Tati, then you put that Hoba in the Hobachis. Hobane, Chunkor Datan, Martans, Chunkor Datan, Yamanaji, and anything in my labs are wrong on us. What the Tandras, Lucem Flote, Lola Shepa, Jean Logian, Yila Majiving on Loge Shas. Taking on the mine, may chamber ute, she will keep us singing, week, Yam Jedis. I was a city keep us singing, Yam Jedis. Simni George Namking on, Simni Joba Tamjit. Joba use another Yoba the Mibala, so Dachi, Dapa, Chibala, so Joba Lago, so Tamjita, Chedele. Namkanda Morris. Or Namking on, Janso Shertam, Janso is another Lavishari. Janso, the Zeton, that be on the Shenandas going to Lena Tambo Jono Bapchindas, La Rale Tambo Jono Bapchina, he is Chelsea Kanga Manazon Euro. What the Chimo Kanga, Tage Hops. Tamachin Mavijay to the Sumuro. What the Chimo Kanga, Kale, Le Tambo Jono Bapsi, Jaws to this. Hinishane took Maris. Or tell it, what Chimo Kanga, the Chimo Kanga, Kale, Kaleros, the days never you rain to do this. Tamachin Mavijay to say, Tamachu Sama, Jamso Namaris. Or tell no, they did not Jamso, say Nona, Jamso, you want this one, then you are your mother. Did they? Sam Koran, Yamna Yabona, say this is not what you that you know, Sam Kidang Quantin, Yamna, you are Shatami Banda. Or tell you quick, said it. Shares another Sam Kangola, Chamamiba. 我真的，他在没错边嘛，真咱们那见了，咱们吃饭过干嘛的啥个吧？我在那一带过，可别那见了，先过那路去过了，可别叫我就忙过吧。我听说江苏学堂没错，是商业界呢说来话，但商业界呢说来是那得是，这个说的是搞的可不多啊。今天说来话，这样子没见，原因是没是。这类那么是这类咱们的光把些是我的钱多久，他有嘛的，这些这趟活了，你们来提干了，那地呢，这类没事，我说话的钱多要嘛的，钱就没见，原因是没，他的印度就嘛的是蛮严格结果的是，这样当现金的年纪特别求职早晚意思，就跟中国，这样当现金的特别求职早晚意中了吧。我记得咱们的空白期，是我在记得个的呢，这咱们空白期过的这种是，我在娘们那些那把马街法的光，但现在的是马街法的光过的种的。
And then next, as the second is loosening, and then maintain the body posture and the gaze as before. So it's same as we mentioned before. By relaxing your body and mind, let your awareness be relaxed and released in its natural state in the mode of thinking nothing. Being not distracted from this state as you maintain constant mindfulness and experience of mind being vividly pristine will dawn. And then it says, the nature of mind is unelaborated. So unelaborated means when there's no elaboration, there is no thought of either being or not being, existing or not existing, eternalism or nihilistic. Like, there's no thought in the mind. And so this is like an ocean, a crystal, or a flower, or space. Not a flower in space, but a flower or space. So so the mind is like space, and the mind is like an ocean. For example, if it's like an ocean in the Ganges Mahamudra text, it says in the practice of meditation, when we practice shamatha, it says in the beginning, for beginner, the mind is like a torrent, like a violent river rushing down a gorge. In the middle, it flows gently like the river Ganges. And in the end, it is like a stream, all the streams returning to the ocean, which is like the meeting of a mother and a child. And so for the ocean, there may be some surface movement on the ocean, but the ocean is unmoved down below on the bottom. So there's no real movement in the ocean. It's still. So it's like an ocean. It's like a crystal, like a stainless clear crystal, or like a mirror. And it is like a flower, so just like a lotus flower that is born out of the mud. One may be within samsara, but remain unstained by the faults of samsara, just like a flower that grows from the mud remains unstained by the mud itself. And then it is awake, naked, and clear. It is neither to be focused on nor distracted from. Accustom yourself to this as much as possible. And so all that needs to be done is only sustain a state of undistracted mindfulness, and there's nothing else to think about, nothing else to meditate upon. You just simply remain undistracted. And this is also something Jidin Sumgun had said. So the practitioner has to have mindfulness and heedfulness, or kind of conscientiousness, an alert mind.
这种人。
And then thus observe your experiences and meditate until you gain stability. Lasso.
真的，我这里他这期头我做，这种在商业世界，对吧？商业界的时候，
Yeah.
说的是这第一，商业人这当时也是眼中科学啥的哇，今年先跟那路做通的人呢，我听着说的人，听着的，
Sange di ni keba kharadok.
这一天商业人这些眼呢，这些没有了，今年现在这先跟那路的同样的这科学什么嘞，这第四就是这个，只有
Dini sange di sibur marwe.
我当人问啥的可能希望他们，
Ina kiranta na keba khare sungsung.
起码现在我们都大下去的，现在现在可是拿到现在咱们都是商业。
Sange.
我他是商业是这些业绩，现在是多啊，现在是这把听着现在的
Na doa lene kawato.
听就的商业，
Sange genera.
商业现在这些行业的，今年现在，但是中国人多，他分就啥是，他下去，我真的当我做的是，俺那国民人是吧？他先人多，人吧当路吧，我这一步承诺一步，但是看来样的，说是年来起，当我做清末的修迁呢，这人吧做清这就是。抽工的修迁那路吧做清的这就是的，我在现在的店面去了啊，在承诺你是头上，我在承诺你的是什么意思？
So now we're going to meditate on this for a bit. So the focusing or the loosening shamatha without a focal point, and you can pick whichever one suits you the best. So if you feel more sleepy or dull, then you apply the practice the focusing shamatha. And if you feel you have too many thoughts, you're restless, then practice the loosening. And so you pick one of those two shamatha without a focal point.
Ja, dann ist es ja.
Yeah, then we meditate for a bit.
전에 당가랑 소생류인다스 공잡 소환 전에 다 저당 지수밀라를 이렇게 대단하고 가서 디 중탄만 본나 곰 운동제 다들 제뭐 처바치네 어떻게 나요와 저당 어텐도 디나는 가르송 올세나 남간들라 빼롱라 타위 메비 곰시 jobs 남간들라 빼롱 타위 메비 곰시 job 카레 르본들라 빼롱 데 르본들라 빼롱라 요구 메비 곰시 job this one 我当时这话，南看的啦，别弄了，特别没别光片呢，人家你啦别弄了，现在没别光片就，日本的啦别弄了，彭州没别光片就，江苏的啦别弄了，肯定没别光片就，让什么啦通进，昆山没别光片就，在昆山先太松着哇，我昆山没别光片就不松了哇，天天没去，但我们家，在我们的家，在家我们天天。또 관래 오스지오 사로와 디강들라 다 모클라르스나 남가게 곰트 데라데스 로지 곰바 종마데스 남 로지 곰베 담아슈스 닌다 곰트 데라스 사카르 곰바 종마데 사카르 곰베 담아슈스 오터 오 곰트 데라데 지힌 곰바 종마데 다 지힌 곰베 담아슈스 janzo 곰트 데라데 발라 곰바 종마데 발라 곰베 담아슈스 Ransem gom to get de late, Namto gomba jongmade, Namto gombe dama shoes, or that's a new monarch person or at the Jizuke, Yata Motopaji, Yamlet Chindo, Zamnet, Mola Kalausena. Namka gom to de lana, Totinam ke chun to this, Namka ranking on shows, Namka ranking on shows. Nida gom to de lana, Sakar nide chun to this, or the Nida ranking on shows. 我真的可能日我工作对了呢，之前日我全出去，是日我呢给人来说是，我在建筑工作对了呢，把那建筑全出去，是在建筑上给人说是，我在人生工作对了呢，可能人生工作对了呢，那么做什么全出去是，我在人生上给人说是，我在这里送人了，我在马子送上呢。 我在这趟在我们现在讲，我们来上喜欢那吧。
So there's a teaching on meditation Milarepa gave to his disciple Bardapum, and this meditation instruction is really the practice of shamatha, calm abiding, and so first Milarepa gave her this instruction. He said, take the sky as an example and practice without any sense of center or boundary. Then take the ocean as an example and practice without any sense of depth or surface. And then he said, take the mountain as an example and practice without any sense of movement or change. And then to look at your mind, to bring out your mind, to see your mind, reveal your mind, practice without any doubt. So that was his instruction to Bardapum. And then she went off to meditate and returned, and then reported on her experience of meditation. And so he said, at first I was happy practicing with the sky, but then I felt uneasy about bringing the clouds into the practice. I was happy practicing with the mountain, but then I felt uneasy about bringing the grass and trees to the practice. I was happy practicing with the ocean, but a little uneasy about bringing the waves into practice. I was happy to practice with my mind, looking at my mind, but I felt uneasy about bringing thoughts into the practice. So please give me an instruction on practicing properly. And then Milarepa responded to her, and he said, so if you're happy practicing with the sky, see the clouds as the magical creations of the sky and be the sky itself. If you're happy practicing with the mountain, then the grass and the trees on the mountain are the magical creations of the mountain. So be the mountain itself. If you're happy practicing with the ocean, the waves are the magical creations of the ocean. Be the ocean itself. If you're happy practicing with your mind, thoughts are the magical creations of the mind. Be the mind itself.
我这种呀，
Hola, so.
他做我等下做，他等于现在他年来去过的，做我等下做南巴上街些，但是做我的什么都过去了，上街就没得，让什么的用是都，那上街点把一种多，我的什么都过去了，我这就没来的，让这种了热穷了，三月新当穷别拉，三月新穷不我的热穷了哇，我拉是那热穷，三月新当穷别拉，够那够咱们大了，我从古今的够土个的是。
Hannes?
从古亚前能够特别的是就那身体，从宣传古亚有了，我这个够能够特别的是，这让什么全部的啦苦对面是，什么哪头苦的热穷吧，什么哪头苦的热穷吧是的，这种有了，但呢，老开讲他强健重视，老开讲是那他讲是或者大节有了，大的是，这边讲了，但是大的话大国家有嘛了。 我的前中现在这有的话的亚种这个的话，知道了话的，我这做我东我特别搞来看我现在我做我今年我特别的是，马上对见了对特别的是对，这说对特别的是，我但是当时吃饭的了推这个面是，当时吃饭的推亚搞来看我的是，我但是呢当时吃饭推些热穷吧是。 我真的那么去恰当，4月7日，那么去恰是那么去恰的哇，4月7日那这次的哇，我这种从那心这么大了，这是我他这种最近心头个的，心头个的哇，我这次我的那么去前位这种自己 top 这个的哇，这天这这里搞来考学的，承认出版的了，心对面是承认出版的，心样别搞来考不有的是，出版特别送给热穷吧，是但出版的特别送过的是哪说？ 但是做这个上人们去用的，但是我们家嘛做那吹着喝，但吹的那么多那种那么多说，这做特别松，这是。但是特别球当特别球当300球是，他投把300有了，特别是当300球，那么些咱们大了是，那么些个的是，些咱们有的是，让什么我们的了些对面是，他让什么我们的些呀，这是搞来可不有的是，我真的什么。 什么见面光些热穷吧是，我什么他结果没把他光过来是热穷吧，我在这边怕他前辈嘛是，这边怕他前辈嘛有了，叫那圈咱们大了，把叫东西他怕嘛那叫出个来是吧？应该让真的了，圈对面是他一看见吧，让真的了就要别个来看我的是，但是应该让这叫些热穷吧是，我真的怕热热汤，吃热热是，怕吃的吃吃你有了。 娘都那都特别是，出这能出这么大了是，什么的了一些的了让我出对面是，我但一些的让我出呀，搞来看不起我的是，我这的大致看了我，什么让些多些的穷吧是，什么让穷大过的是，假如搞趟做么弄是，假如搞那的做么可能那的，虽然那这么大了是，在公办的学习那学校那这么有的是。 我但其他也见得了13米是，但是起码那么这种些热穷吧是，我那么多，但是说这是开挺不多啊那种，你们来就是做我的他什么样子个学了，听说这是搞来考试的才了哇。
Das ist gerade die Lut,
jar
gordi, kawado ti gordi tingatis mamboto kawado
ane
ti.
gorte rechung te jagan ro tina yorwa
Mm.
jagar sondi maale sa chamal bondo ta te jirime chupta ma boden yorwa tera yorwa ta chan zito ma zon ti sama ngor sama la mi da tina
Tina tingatis da shaso. It
ya
so.
ta nge la go yang cha
Okay.
re
Indeed.
다 당보 때 가리 선 대리 선 서베 칭당 총베라 코점도 고나 나다 랑섬 총보인데라 구두미 심리 나도 거기 레총 바세 레총 와드네 가르세 다다 대리 선 심리 재미 공피 레총 바로와 말이 심리 나도 거기 레총 바세 로케 다당 强健中 slow 大楼给大的都大人个降大上的公他的楼给大的大降嘛的大
Horse, right?
这个
Tiger.
这个楼给加的降的大的强健中个降出去的强健中对呢推咱们拉的当时吃饭的了推没当时吃饭有了当时吃饭是俺家中的吃饭是呢我的推没当时吃饭推给这穷巴是啊不错 남그 차다 사이 치스 남그 차스나 남그 차라와 사이 치스는 지스리 다 시바선 지스르와 어떻게 신나 신도 그래서 나 트렌 추반데라 신두미 트렌이 추바 데라 신이 아까래 가보여레스 추바 쳔베스 게 레총바스 어드네 추바데 쳔베스 고레스 레총바스 어드네 가래다 토베초당 삼베초 남는 시장 달라듯이 토베초 삼베초의 럽종 체제는 시계레스 랑생모민들라 시디미스 심리 심리 재미 공피의 총바스 심리 제와미 바트 공피의 총바스 어떤 제외 파다 참배마 조나 조좀 라다 달라다스 제외 파 파마디 요린 조르토 그레스와 인간 랑신들 저도 인간 랑신 나랑 냠도 로게로 특별히 앞에 가려 하고 요래서
다른 냠도 그러래?
1年吧1个年吧 네 랑스 요라와테 다 나랑 냠도 로게로 와테 저도 저리 아까래 하고 요래서 인간 랑신 저렇게 레총바스 어ත네 파리르당 추르르스 파르제다 추초제 요라 진이요나 렌티니 보소도나 토그레스 我在投资个的是以前的啦，让我抽丢米是，我以前的让我抽也别个来看不有的是，我等于什么让些东西，热穷巴是，先给让些打过来是，热穷巴是，还不错。我在家务干堂做木龙是，在家务干做木龙，他家务的做木头做这，学能拿咱打了的是，但恐怕在学进来恐怕拿这个的话，家务做木头来看谁拿。其他人家的啦学啥米是，其他人家的学啥要嘛的是，其他咱们这东西热穷巴是，他不错。 啊，最近大家很吵是讲他，他讲是就说很多，我们有点不讲，那么就这个地方的叫什么？
Okay, also this long song of Milarepa. And so the main thing is that we want to tame the mind. That's like the main point of any Buddhist practice. And so the Buddha himself had said, completely tame your own mind. This is the Buddha's teaching. So then there was a story about Milarepa and Virginia.
Milarepa tere zo nge tere jisla na tere chung si jaga song ro wa, tere jaga song di zo le bi tere chung tu di jang di becha tu becha ki ro wa. Ten tu becha ki de du Milarepa si me ja ro wa, chilang chu ki ho ze Milarepa me dang gi ze. Re chung chu ki se la Milarepa de me ja ro wa. Re chung be me si kong ro sa ro, tanga jaga song ta ska le ja nge becha sama me ja. 上边落在里有接着哇， 这就没得出不大忙不点了，这种他弄其他做先不学嘛是吧？他妈的，咱不是哪里？这没哪里吧？要咱们看跑些，咱跑上去的这种，哦，当然去，咱们也出不大提个噻，那俺这种路操口嘛都，俺别家可些开始过的，但俺他就他会先了，如果嘛的，但那么就是没那跑多些，他就他会先骗不上啥的，咱俺公办上的。他俺那里嘛写读上嘛，查变多么多，这些嘛穷很多可能，
Awesome.
可能嘛穷是吧？
Really.
嘛啥对那啥没得，这了啥人都晓得的，就是没那地方的，赔很多。
Kann es sein?
那么看见碰到就是没得吃嘛这些有啥话过？
Oh.
这提起手的这里也怕起多急了。
So this is the story. So the story, so Ruben also just explained the background of the story, and so that is the Jungbam. He went to India once, and so he returned. So Milarepa asked him to bring back some scriptures, and Rajungbam then returned from India, and with all of these very precious holy texts, and so then he presented them to Milarepa.
这别家这有了的，别家有了提下，
To Karapecha.
不拉没的，
Ah.
这家呀，
Oh, yeah.
这左右没那的没家呀，才的话，
So these were actually texts that pertain to sorcery, and so he brought them back, but he thought they were very precious, but they were also sorcery texts. And so then, anyways, Milarepa and then told him, just go and fetch some water. And so then Rajumba went off to fetch some water, and then meanwhile, while he was gone, Milarepa burned all of these texts. And then when he came back, he saw, oh, Milarepa burned all of my texts, and he got really angry. And he
我那没那的在哪里？可那是呢，就推出刚打啥来嘛，从事的话，
Katuilla
推出你就不来嘛，从变过的这种，
di Chulin det.
就推出刚打啥来嘛，从事，这嘛来对这，他俺就让写说啥的，咱们从事。 我这些送的俺别家偏套嘛，都是研究都这个没家长的最哪的，我那现在这别家丫头是没家表嘛的，但特别的嘛。
So Milarepa then told him, but the reason why I'm burning your books is because it took you so long to fetch the water. I thought you won't come, so you won't come back. So and I don't need those books, so I thought I'm just going to burn them. And so that made Rajungpa really angry. And so he thought himself, he had some really negative thoughts about Milarepa, and he thought, I'm going all the way to India and bringing back these really precious books, and then what does he do? He just burns them. He has no respect, and he had all these negative thoughts about Milarepa. At that time, so he was quite upset, and so then so he had some negative thoughts, and so then he kept thinking about it, and then eventually it came to him, and he thought, what am I really thinking? What's the point of all these books? I have this wonderful Lama who gives me all the instructions. Why I have this attachment to all of these books? And so then he regretted having had those thoughts, and then he felt, oh no, now the guru is going to the Pure Lands, and I'm going to be left behind. And I have disappointed the guru. I want to die. I just want to die. And so then he wanted to commit suicide, and he jumped down and the cliff to commit suicide. And then as he was jumping, he saw this shadow above him, which is Milarepa, flying over him. and then saving him again. And so that's kind of the backstory. And so then Milarepa sang this song to Rajungba. And so this is the song then. He said that it's possible to bend like a horn, but it's very difficult to bend, or you have to control you have control over your own mind. It's possible to catch a wild animal, like they have this drong. What is it, like kind of like a mix of yak and is it like a horse or some a drong? It's a wild animal, not horse, a cow, and so it's very wild and kind of really strong animal. And so it's possible to tame the drong, but it's even more difficult to tame it's much more difficult to tame our own mind. Wouldn't it be better if you tamed your mind now, Rajungba? And then he said, so it's what is it? It's possible to the sengetela kachitok,
啊，
sengetela,
圣
sengetela
殿
tak tela kachitok.
大，它都可以大的，强健中人大的中你不对呀，干那可不有
Oh
意
yeah,
思。
so sorry. Yeah, it was the drong and the tiger, not just the drong. So it's possible to tame the drong or the tiger, but it's more difficult. And that's hard, but it's more difficult to tame your own mind. So wouldn't it be better to tame your own mind? Then he said it's possible. So he's talking about his pride really mainly. And then it's possible to catch a bird in the sky or a mouse. But it's very difficult to catch the deluded mind, the deluded thoughts. Wouldn't it be better to cut through the delusion of your mind now? Then he said it's possible to speak about the Dharma of what you have learned and what you have reflected upon. But it's very difficult to speak about your own mind. Therefore, wouldn't it be better to meditate on the unborn nature of your mind? And then it's possible to leave behind your kind, loving father and mother, but it's very hard to leave behind your bad character. They will always go with you. So therefore, wouldn't it be better to look at your character now? And it's possible for two opposite mountains to come together and touch each other, to meet each other. But it's very difficult to meet your own primordial awareness. And therefore, wouldn't it be better to look at the nature of your mind now? It's possible that the decree of a king or the command of a queen will set you free, but the Lord of Death will not set you free. And therefore, it's better to take death as the path to practice now. Okay, until here.
咱这个嘞，
Mhm.
我这期天呢，当然就第一个面人，是这题就有俺做的，但没来的陪的，南海光的拉些拉算，这说就光那他现在过开始光那个面，他第一个面其他，俺第一次光家些家乡做天就现在要啥，这3年的嘛，退休了哇。
Now we meditate for a little bit. You can meditate on those instructions by Milarepa, or you can meditate on the previous shamatha instructions. And so we will do the teachings like that, have some teaching and then have some meditation, and then we'll have more teachings tomorrow.
等那干嘛就弄点做那你们吃饭当年用那在当那里。
So we have 10 minutes left. Now, if there's anybody in the Zoom who has a question, they can ask it now.
Đôi mà đôi.
Hi,
No
Juma.
question?
Kashi Diling.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the different tigles, the white one and the black one below the seat, when we're focusing on these to like sharpen the mind or relax the mind, are we doing this while we're focusing on a Buddha or ourselves as the deity or non-conceptual, or you're just only focusing on the Bindu? Like, are we doing it in conjunction with other things, or how is that? How does that work?
Tini chingwa yana mukti kubo ina. Tini ngasa yana tile karpo yana tile napo komya yorwa. Di bana chingwa dan kubo yona ra. Tini tile karpo yana napo komya ra. Tena mincham la karpo tani shabla napo ra. Tini ti kabla ra ti kompe kabla tini ti nyamdo shembachi kongore bana shine tenchen te metatanga so. Shide yana ti.
在北疆了，相当于是在流行的这个东西。现在电线这是北疆了，我们的那电线对面开始我们那着啊，开始我们那，他我们的那看不啦，在上不上他流用多呗，那么多嘛没出个着啊，他出红的，真的在提人他破的公庙去出红的呢，提刚了他去娘头个做公庙用嘛了吧，他当不，他去真的。 咱们在清末的时候，你可毛毛用到提纲里呢，这个干部这个面去，听着清这个，可是呢，他唐伯在开始广东那，他七八么多，这接了听着，他们那么听着我，这听着，这是呢，偏清末，清国头西特别，偏到有啥的意思，然后这娘头别讲的是，这现在电前这我们提起来的了。 这个干部长那碰上在广国呢，你养不用过嘛？哇，可是呢，你看从我去那多年级强就不没事这说了，都把你养就过嘛的事，我说是吧
？So whichever one you're practicing, whether you're practicing shamatha with or without a focal object, sometimes it does happen that you have many thoughts arising in your mind. And when that happens, then you visualize a black sphere below your cushion. But you can't really do that at the same time as what the other meditation that you have done. You can, then you have to shift to the black sphere for the time being. Or if you feel really sleepy and unclear, then you visualize the white sphere between your eyebrows. It doesn't matter what you meditated on before, so if whatever was shamatha, with support, without support, or which one you focused on. And when any of these faults of meditation arise, you apply the antidote, the method, visualizing those spheres, but that doesn't happen at the same time. So you cannot practice, for example, you have practiced before the shamatha with the support. So you had some kind of object that you focused on, and then you get either tired or restless, and so then you visualize the black or the white sphere. So you can't do your shamatha with a focal object and the white sphere, for example, at the same time, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. Jigten Sumgen said in the Gongchik, it's impossible for the mind to have two thoughts at exactly the same time.
But if we're visualizing ourselves as the deity, we're visualizing many things at once. Like,
nam cho sam dang thuk ma de so dak si zhe qi de.
So there's a difference between visualizing one thing after the other, or visualizing a totality of something. So of course, it's possible for the deity to appear as one thing. But then if you focus on now the ears of the deity, now the eyes of the deity, and once you're with the eyes of the deity, you're no longer thinking about the ears of the deity. You try it out. Okay. When you think of the eyes, are you also thinking of the ears? Then when you think of the ears, you're no longer thinking about the eyes.
I don't know. When I'm thinking about Juplan, I'm not only thinking about his ears or his nose. I can picture all of him. Like, same with the deity. And if my visualization or my concentration is foggy, then I'm picturing myself as the deity, but then she's got, the black bindu underneath.
Da rinpe xin guam de man rwa. Rinpe xu de guam de man zhe. Nam to ni chun yang du ma le.
Yine yang da benang mo kerang samlotana kerang chachang shargado semnala. Benang
Sam Sam 别晓得没这个种通的那sam嘛，怕什么苏泊的就用通的，提囊了，大个苏泊的也在这，这个没这种通这个的，这就用这种通这个里面，提纲到现在这期都特别强调想呢，他没参这这么当的呢，刚别讲这这么当，现在不娘们都买。
Ina kita moti lagra kisi titsaman yam do yongso do thongnara. Tini kapena ngahla yin da sam khonarwa. Tini ngahla yin pe kapla ngarang ki shapla thigle nakpoti do samgorwe. Yana thigle nakpoti po samgore.
Thigle nakpoti na yo la da shap mare ta ze ma zo gom jap de lian gang ro ter sam dang lo.
Da yin yang sambe kapla rwa ti kapla yang la gom gora.
这他唐布他光那这个，唐布他光的有吧？他光的，他一旦光写老算的嘞，他光的边那看不啦？他提纲了别上的，他出外的古巴修情不用那的呢？点讲对现在这个提人那不光面，这你们推用嘛？他光面才的啊，他唐布他光的有了，他一把话提纲了，这没怪他娘家用嘛的意思啊。
Yeah, so he's firm that you cannot have two thoughts at the same time, and you can have a total view. Like for example, you said you see Drupa and you see the whole person. When you think of a person or you see of a person, you see the whole person. But then once you actually look at the person, you see part of the person really. And then when you think about for example, you look at the legs and you're not looking at the head. So you really, once you start, the focus comes in. Once you focus, then you focus on one thing only. And so in your practice then, so if your shamatha is that you visualize yourself as the deity, then you already are a deity. And then if it happens that you become very agitated or really sleepy, then you're still the deity when you visualize those bindus, those spheres. However, you cannot see it all at the same time. So you sort of have an awareness of being the deity, but you're actually not visualizing the deity, you're visualizing that drop, I mean that sphere.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So we have one more question from Zoom. And the question is, I struggle with feeling well rested on a day-to-day basis. Is it possible to have quality meditation even when you're tired?
Nima tapa kutang chegitok, ko nimam ko isa mare. Tini katuna teestik tang chegitok nima tapa katuna. Tini tika tinda wahina, moon tuna tinda wahina. Tini kom younger reve tinda wahina.
Oh, kom de xiong xie.
Kom gaki gure.
知道这话，俺让做汤切也见多，这苏不你汤别切多，俺这就用多。我那现在在苏不流切这些恰切，这流切进汤不的是个来喝饭多，这把这苏不养不着恰。这个来喝下没来人多，俺就咱们当他没收家，的当这个在俺们这个来把系统给咱们个话，这个系统什么的话， 양의 찬스야 루시엔다지 양의 곰디스 ям나 디스 로로나 피제팽게레 잠도 매직 다가 갈레 칸도 잔타 곰용사 마레 보단 파 베시안 예산다 제나 리디나 트레코 갈레 카드 매직 들이 춘 방도 매찬도
So that's the thing with being tired now, and this is also what happens to me. Rupen said, when I'm kind of what do you say, like I'm gonna say docile. When you don't move too much, then when I don't move too much, then I actually feel quite sluggish and quite tired. And when I move around a lot, for example, I prostrate and I exercise and do different things, do work, then it maybe in the beginning it seems like I have to get myself to do it. It's a difficult thing to do, it's work. But then once I'm actually in the middle of doing it, I feel much lighter and much fresher than before. And often we think that when we are really tired, then we should rest, and when we rest, then we will be less tired. But actually, that's not true. Resting does not necessarily clear away your tiredness. So sometimes it makes you more sluggish, and then you don't want to get up at all anymore. And then it's very difficult to meditate. So you definitely shouldn't think that I can't meditate. So if you feel I'm tired and feel like I can't meditate, and just get yourself up and do some prostration and sit down and meditate, and things will change. But if you think that, oh, I'm just like too tired for meditating, I can't do it, and you just drop into your bed, and then you will never be able to get yourself up. You will just sink in your bed and not be able to meditate.
다들 차가래 그래서나 아주 다 지금 방도 매라 다 매소자 다 갈레 칸도 잔지도 이제 방도 춤매라 들이 다 소곰라 자디 이제 들이 갈레 카바트 파 매바디 차노 그래 어쩌는도
So in brief, so if you think that I'm so tired, I need to rest, and then you drop down in your bed. Once you drop down, it's really hard to get back up again. But if you feel really tired and you don't drop down and you think I'm doing something now, I'm going to meditate, just try it out, meditate, and you will feel much better than you would when you would just drop down.
야, 근데 다 dedication 지 지단 성공 그 dedication 때 효당 집리나
The Jigdan Somgan dedication on page 17.
Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yogins, Yoginis, and Dakinis dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate root of virtue, not result in hate worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Shravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Maras, and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mindless such and the pervading clarity of Dharmata. May I, in any case, gain supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo.
Yeah, okay, thank you. See you tomorrow. 10 o'clock, Chicago 10. 学术局吧了，桑尼。
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Jabana.
Thank you.
Gracias, Lama.
Good to
Buenas
see
Lina.
you.
buenas
Lina.
noches.
Yeah.
学术局
So,
吧，你把 Chicago 桑尼。
really, Suchiwara.
제桑尼，学术局吧呢，就一起你把呢那话是，桑尼那你。
Tomorrow, 10 to 12 and 2 to 5 Chicago time. Sí, y luego de...
Yeah, okay, thank you everybody.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Buenas noches.
Hola, Ina.
Ana, buenas noches.
Thank you, Giovanna.
Gracias.
Thank
Gracias
you.
a Mexico.